Hi everyone, Dave here from CX Experts, looking to answer a question that I find myself having to explain quite a lot. And it has to do with the ticket lifecycle in Zendesk and how we can leverage some of the statuses and tools available to us to make sure that we're getting the most out of our Zendesk licenses, because that's what the goal is, right? To get the most bang for our buck. So I want to take us through a general ticket cycle and explain different statuses. Hopefully you get something out of this. I have a recording limit of 15 minutes, so this shouldn't take too long. I hope you enjoy it. I'll try and update this as frequently as I can. Couldn't find it anywhere else on the internet. Couldn't find a template, couldn't find a recording, so I thought I would just make my own. So what I'd like to do is just take us through a little flowchart I created on something called Miro, free tool. Shameless plug for the Miro tool. So I do hope that you can see my screen, and let's jump in. So at the beginning of every journey in Zendesk, we have customer communication. And this form of communication is initiated by something we refer to as the end user, and that is anyone who communicates with us, whether that is via phone or WhatsApp or digital web chat or email or web form, you name it. Any piece of correspondence that comes into Zendesk is channeled into Zendesk, creates what we call a ticket. Now, I think we're all familiar with tickets. When a ticket is created, it starts out in a new status, and the new status doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't been updated. It just means that it hasn't been assigned. So the ticket is created, the status of the ticket is new. The ticket is then routed to the correct group using triggers, business rules that we put in place. So WhatsApps can go to a WhatsApp team, emails can go to an email team, high urgency or urgent tickets can go to an urgent team or an escalations team, you name it. You've got your triggers in place, and the ticket is still new at this stage and is visible to everyone in that group if you've got it set up the way we set it up. Then the ticket is assigned to an agent, either automatically or manually by a human. So when I say automatically, I'm talking about omni-channel routing. So if you are making use of that, good on you. If you're not, go have a look. It's pretty cool and easy to set up. Or it's taken manually by an agent. So they go and click take it, the ticket becomes theirs. At this stage, the ticket changes then to an open status. The ticket can never become new once it has been taken out of the new status. And just a reminder that the open status in Zendesk is reserved for tickets that are saying, look at me, you need to look at me now. So from there, the agent has obviously multiple things that they can do. Number one, and my favorite, is we can answer the question. We answer the question without escalation and we solve it. At this point, the ticket status changes to solve. And if we follow our flow diagram all the way to the end of this life cycle, we'll then send our satisfaction survey or our CSAT. And then after 4 days or whatever that period is in your life, the ticket will be closed and no longer updatable. If we need more information from the customer, so we need information that we need to make use of to continue with the query, and we ask them questions. So it may be, what is your order number? Can you clarify your issue? We will then place that ticket in a pending status. So the difference between pending and on hold here is pending is reserved for when we're awaiting feedback from a customer or an end user, and the on hold status is reserved for when we are awaiting feedback from an external party. So at this point, if we ask the customer for more information so that we can proceed with the query, we'll change the ticket into a pending status. Now, typically, we don't show agents pending tickets because we won't see them again unless the customer replies. So at this point, we put the ticket in pending. If the ticket is in a pending status for 2 days, i.e. the customer hasn't replied or no one's changed the status, we can have a business rule or automation that does an automatic follow-up. We don't have to go and type that. We don't have to go and send that. We can tell Zendesk, go and follow up with the customer and let them know that if they don't reply in the next 24 hours, we'll be closing the ticket and assuming that the query has been solved. How you word that, totally up to you. I've got some ideas. Let me know if you want those. After a further 24 hours, or again, we set these times ourselves, the ticket will then change to a solved status. And we'll notify the customer that A, it's been solved, and B, they can still reply at any time. If the customer does reply to any ticket status except for new and closed, the ticket will become open because it requires attention. If the ticket remains solved, though, we bypass satisfaction survey because we didn't necessarily help them. and the ticket will get closed 4 days later. If we need to reach out to an external team, so it's been assigned to us, we can make use of what we call side conversations within Zendesk, or reach out, if you don't have side conversations enabled or it's not on your plan, you reach out via Slack, Teams, email, reach over to the person next to you. Doesn't matter. At this point, you'll put the ticket on hold, which remember is a status reserved for when we are awaiting internal feedback. We can't auto-solve these because the ball is in our court. The action is on us. So if we require information or input from an internal team who is also on Zendesk, i.e. they have light agents or full suite licenses in Zendesk, we can create a side conversation via a ticket on the right-hand side of our ticket base. Once that side conversation is replied to, the ticket status will change to open, which remember is the status that we need to look at. We can then complete the query, solve it, send the CSAT, and the ticket will close. We do something slightly different if the person we're reaching out to is not on Zendesk. For example, if it's a third party, so in e-commerce world, if we need to reach out to a supplier or a courier or a payment partner, we'll do the same thing. We'll create a side conversation, but instead of creating it via a ticket for an internal team, we'll create it via an email, and the same logic applies. If the ticket is replied to through a side conversation or by a customer, the ticket status will change to open, and we can then proceed with the query and perhaps solve the ticket, in which case it goes to our endpoint with a satisfaction survey and the ticket is closed. As I mentioned earlier, a ticket in any status except new and closed, if replied to by a side conversation or a customer, will revert into an open status. That's why you see all these arrows here. If the customer replies, you can go through this whole process again, starting from here, and again use your pending, use your on hold statuses. So the reason this is so powerful, I'm going to zoom out on this, and this will be all available in the article that I'll attach this recording to, is that it allows an agent not to have to keep notes or remember anything. The goal of Zendesk is that someone works the open ticket in front of them, dispositions it accordingly into the correct status, puts it in a pending status, understanding that they've A, asked the customer for some information that they need to proceed with the query, and B, that ticket will either do one of two things. Either it will solve automatically because the customer has not replied, or the customer will reply and it'll turn into an open ticket. Then, or we take that open ticket, or we say, okay, we need external feedback, we put it on hold, understanding that ticket will either open up if the side conversation is replied to, or if the customer replies. So my advice is that we also have a business rule external to this that says that a ticket can only be on hold without a reply from the end user or the external party for a maximum of 2 days. So we can say that if the ticket's been on hold for 2 days and hasn't been updated, it also opens up, reminding us to do two things. Again, number one, remind the customer that we haven't forgotten about them, that their query is still very important to us, and we're following up with the relevant teams. And then B, as I just mentioned, we'll follow up with the external team and say, hey, can you please give us feedback so that we can continue and try to solve this customer's query. It's those three statuses. An agent gets a ticket, they decide which status it needs to go into next, they move on to the next one. They get the ticket, they decide on the status, they do what they need to do. So again, the goal is just to work open tickets. And if that's what you go into your workflow process planning when it comes to Zendesk, if that's what you've got in mind, you can't go wrong. You get maximum efficiency, agents feel like they are in control of the process, customers keep up to date, and we have a good audit trail and some good accountability for who we followed up, when we followed up, and the information that we followed up on. So I know this video, short and sweet, I hope it answers a lot of your questions, but if not, please pop our support inbox a message. So you can contact us at support@cxexperts.co.za or visit our help center, support.cxexperts.co.za. Please don't email me. I don't do personal emails, mostly because Outlook doesn't have the same functionality as Zendesk. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.